Welcome everybody to another episode of Project Ecology, where we are perched up on Pride Rock. I am one half of your host, Anthony, and joining me as always is...
Dakota. And, I feel like I've been kind of ruined by the internet because I've seen a GIF or a video of Rafiki lifting Simba up and then just throwing him off of Pride Rock. And it's whenever I see that scene, that's what I think about. So, us being perched against, up on Pride Rock, I'm worried about Rafiki coming from behind us, wrong again, and just throwing us off.
Just getting tossed off of Pride Rock.
Yeah, right after getting, bonked by his little stick. Yeah, well, I'm really excited to talk about The Lion King, 1994, as well as Lion King 2019, because I haven't talked to anyone about Lion King. I haven't talked to anyone about Lion King 2019, just because I only recently saw it for the first time ever. Have you seen it previously, Anthony?
2019, yeah, I saw it when it was in theaters. So I had to go see it in theaters. It was one of my favorites growing up. It was one of those movies that, when you're a kid, you want to watch it over and over. That was Lion King for me. Man,
remember theaters? Remember those?
In a long distant past, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Frodo at the end of the trilogy, where he's just like, "No, Sam, I don't remember the taste of strawberries." But anyway, we're going off topic here. Anthony, what have you been up to this past week? I haven't seen you in, it's got to be over a week at this point.
I know, it's just been such a long time. Well, I've been gaming. I have been playing Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. So, it's
that's the name of the game, or that's two different games?
It's the name of the game. So, Super Mario 3D World was a game that was back on Wii U, if I remember correctly. I think they also had they had a version of that on 3DS, but they brought it over to the Switch, but then they added a whole other part called Bowser's Fury. I never got to play the first Super Mario 3D World, so it's really cool. It's got the, that side-scrolling platformer. It has that aspect, but then it's 3D at the same time. It's kind of crazy. You're running around in a 3D world, but there's aspects of it that are very reminiscent to the old Marios.
The classic two-dimensional Mario.
Right. Even though it's not 2D or anything, but
okay,
it's cool.
3D.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's been fun, and watching Lion King 2019. I didn't get to watch the 94 one. I mean, I remember it. I had seen it so much throughout the years. And WandaVision, man. WandaVision, bro.
Dude, this show is changing the entire game up, I am so amazed at week in and week out. I'm just at the edge of my seat with WandaVision. This past week, so we're recording this on February 19th, so episode 7 has just come out. By the time you guys actually get to listen to this, the show will have been completed. But as of right now, wow, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I've been enjoying it. It's crazy where we are now, because when the first 2 episodes dropped, everybody's just what's going on right now? It was so confusing. But it's cool, though. I like how they started off, and they just slowly started answering questions.
I think once everything is said and done, once all the episodes are out, rewatching all of it in one go, it'll be a little long. It's probably 3.5, 4 hours long at that point. But watching that all together, I feel it's going to really just be an eye-opening experience, because you're going to see the little details that you wouldn't have normally seen or have it theorized, but amounted to nothing or amounted to something different. So I think it's going to be a fun experience going back after the season's over. But yeah, I've been watching WandaVision too. I've been posting about it pretty regularly.
Yeah, it's been great. So yeah, that's what I've kind of been up to. What about you? What have you been up to this past week?
I did watch both the 94 version and 2019 version of The Lion King, and rewatching a classic movie from my childhood is always a good time. A lot of it holds up in, ways that I wouldn't have expected it to, but the animation, dude, is so good, so good. We're going to talk a little bit, we're going to talk all about that in a couple minutes, but I also started I started getting into the, another gacha game on mobile, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. It's an older game at this point. It's been around, 6-7 years at this point, and
yeah, I think back in like 2015, maybe.
Yeah, that seems about right. It's cool. They have some new features. They have a lot of new characters and stuff. So I'm just jumping back into it. They have all my save data from like back when I played it last, which was like 2016, which is really bizarre. I have like a bunch of, for whatever reason, Luminara Unduli is my like top character, like by a long shot. Like for whatever reason, back in 2016, I spent all my time trying to level her up. Cool, old me. But
yeah, I played that once upon a time. I jump back on it every once in a while, but not so much lately. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's nothing to write home about. A friend of mine wanted to hop on it, so I hopped on it with him. But let's see, what else I've been up to. Oh, I watched my first Muppet movie the other day. I've never seen a Muppet movie.
Really?
Never seen a Muppet anything. Yeah, I watched Treasure Island.
Oh, I love that one. Absolutely love that one.
That's so good. It was so funny. I love Tim Curry as Long John Silver. I read the book Treasure Island like a year and a half ago, so this was like a fun little thing. It like deviates a lot, obviously, just to fit the Muppets in, but it's still a really cool, fun classic story.
So what you're telling me is that it's not canon.
Oh, it's canon for Muppets, yeah, for sure. But yeah, it deviates a lot from the source material. But that's fine. It's all about interpretation. Also, what else? I've been doing a lot of just watching stuff on Disney Plus recently. So I also watched for the first time Anastasia, the Fox movie that Disney now owns, by director Don Bluth, who's like a classical like animator and stuff. Dude, that movie's so good. The art style is crazy. Like there's like 5 different art styles. Like they'll go to a certain place and they'll have like pointillism as the art style. They're on a boat and you see like the camera shifting as they're like in their bunks, and it's just like you feel like you're there. It's a really cool animation style that they did for that movie, and the characters features are really interesting. They also played a little bit with like CGI, which doesn't hold up as much, but it's still really cool and fun to watch for the first time for me anyway.
So yeah, Anastasia, I haven't seen it in a while. I remember enjoying it a lot. Anastasia's one of those movies that if you ask somebody about it, they'll say, oh yeah, I love it, but I haven't seen it in a long time. It's one of those ones that people like, but it's not often talked about. And
it fits perfectly on Disney Plus because it feels like a Disney movie. The animations, like the character types and, the idea of like a princess, and this one's a lost princess story, which is, kind of similar-ish to like stuff like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and stuff, but this one's actually based on some level of historical accuracy. I mean, it's the Romanov family from the Russian Empire back in like the early 1900s.
It's really an interesting story, and in all honesty, like it's a period of time that you would not ever think of somebody making a movie of.
Right, and it wasn't, at the time that it was released, it wasn't even like 100 years after the fact. But it's, having someone, what's the guy's name? Russia's Greatest Love Machine, what's his name? Rasputin.
Russia's Greatest Love Machine. That is the
best. Yeah, so having Rasputin, Russia's Greatest Love Machine, as the antagonist of it is just like a stroke of genius. Obviously, he was kind of supposed to be the bad, evil sorcerer guy in real life too. So the legend kind of carries on into the animation, and it's pretty cool. I'm happy that I saw that.
Yeah, it's funny, like, when you sit and think about it. Yeah, that really, like, tickled me. I was like, I really didn't think about that, but it's hilarious now that you think about it. Yeah, no, I agree. It's a good movie. I think it's something that I need to sit down and watch again. It's something that I'll sit down and watch every once in a while, but it's been a really long time since I have seen it, so I enjoy it. I enjoy movies like that. Was it The Troll in Central Park? I remember like these random movies. Like, I feel like Anastasia is like that one that like people like, but it's also kind of like not as well known. Like, people know it, but then they don't really think about it. So
yeah, they're like Disney offshoots.
Yeah, Disney offshoots. I like that. Ferngully. So yeah, that's
Land
a good
Before
choice.
Time, dude. Land Before Time.
Oh yeah, we will be covering The Land Before Time, because those were up on my list for the longest time when I was a kid.
The first movie is so classic. It's so good. Speaking of all this animation, I think it's time we actually talk a little bit about the topic at hand, which is The Lion King, and 1994 versus 2019. We recently did an episode on Mulan, comparing the 98 classic animation with the 2020 live-action remake that they had recently released on Disney+. I'm kind of in the same boat where I hadn't seen Mulan 2020 before doing the podcast, or before we got prepared for the podcast. This is the same thing where I hadn't seen Lion King 2019 up until now. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it, because there's things I liked about the new movie. There's things I love about the classic movie, but there's also things I didn't like about the new movie. And
yeah,
what are your thoughts on the new movie?
So my thoughts on the new movie are that I think it's good visually. I think it's beautiful visually. I think that they do great, but the most overwhelming part that makes Lion King is the fact that the songs are very underwhelming. To me, they're underwhelming. Scar's song in the new movie, they butchered it. His song is so good in the animated version. It's strong. The singing voices are so strong in the animated version, and I don't think that the newer movie did any justice for it, but I do think that it looked good. I actually did not hate the Timon and Pumbaa in the new movie. I actually thought that they did pretty well. Like, I think that they did the animated version justice, because they had some like pretty funny moments.
I think I was so attached to the original actors voicing certain roles that it was really blatantly obvious when the new actors were, saying the same lines or very similar lines. And for me, those are the moments that fell flat, because it didn't feel like they were making the story their own, or they weren't making the script their own in certain instances. But when they would go away from the script of the original Lion King, that's actually where I liked the movie best. I thought that was where its strengths were, in the 2019 version. But most of the scenes are just like a cut by cut, play by play of the original movie, and that doesn't do anything for me, because the original movie did it better.
Right.
Frankly,
yeah, I agree.
The lines, for whatever reason, it feels like the lines that were presented in the original movie had way more heart to them. The jokes landed way better the first time. The songs, in some instances, were more powerful, like you said, in the original.
Yeah, it was almost like a one-to-one, pretty much. And yeah,
except for certain things, yeah.
I agree. I think one of the voice changes that I didn't like the most is Zazu's. The OG Zazu, Rowan Atkinson, I think that his role was pretty big in the original film, and I felt like he was just so much more of a background character in this film. And the voice actor for him, I mean, I'm not going to say that they didn't try. I do think that they put what they could into this. It's just so hard to live up to something that was already amazing to begin with, you know?
So John Oliver did the voice acting for the 2019 version. And I'm actually going to disagree with you here. I feel like of all the characters, I didn't mind Zazu all that much in the 2019 version. I think actually he had the most variation from the original movie in terms of his lines and the jokes that he would, like deliver and stuff. Like, I thought it was really funny, the joke about the relative who thought he was a woodpecker. Like, that came out of nowhere. It didn't add anything to the movie itself, but it was funny, and it actually, like, it got a pretty good laugh out of me. And the fact that he, like, kind of repeated the joke later on in the movie to Scar, I believe, that was good too. I do understand what you're saying, that certain, like, characters, that the certain characters can't embody, or some voices can't embody the power or emotion that you felt when you were younger. And that's kind of the power of nostalgia in a way. And it's also like, it's a damaging thing about nostalgia, because it's almost like the thing that we had when we were younger is always going to be better, no matter what. Because in our head, that's what we're going to be thinking. And that's how we feel. And there's nothing wrong with how we're feeling. In terms of Zazu, I didn't have too much of a problem with him in this movie.
I don't know, like it was better the second time watching, but I don't like overall. I think that the voice acting cast was better in the first one, but I will say in the newer movie, like I said, the visuals were like fantastic. I mean, it was like beautiful actually seeing these real life areas in Earth, and it was like breathtaking in a couple of instances. And I mean, yeah, like in the intro to the movie, you're so used to those like just striking vibrant colors, but the natural color and lighting was not bad,
No. All right, so let's talk about the intro while we're at it, just because I actually think they did a really good job of like remaking the introduction for The Lion King. And this is one of those areas where I don't have a problem with them doing a shot-by-shot remake. It's such a classic intro.
Yeah,
you can picture the song in in that African language in your head. You can picture the sun coming over the horizon, and it's like a big or a bright red sun, and you have all the animals making their way to Pride Rock, and they did it almost like scene for scene in some instances, like.
Yeah.
The ants crawling over the twigs, and then you have like the animals walking underneath it. And having watched, I literally watched The Lion King 94, and then I started Lion King 2019 directly after that. So I got that experience where I was like, oh wow, they're going for it. They're doing a shot for shot remake of the original intro. I love my favorite shot was always the elephants walking over the hill, and then like in front of them the ostriches like flocking to and fro. I always thought that was a cool thing in the classic, and I was happy that they pulled out all their stops. They redid that.
Yeah.
So what you're saying about the color, I guess that's one of the creative licenses you can have with animation that you don't bat an eye about. Just because it's their style. It's the style of animation. It's the style of the cartoon that they're trying to deliver. It's a very colorful world in the original Lion King. Until it's not, until they go to the graveyard, the elephant graveyard. And then it's like a very bleak, miserable place. And later on in the film, Pride Rock is bleak and miserable. And even the scene in the canyon where Mufasa dies. It's very like monotone color and stuff. You have the same basic color pattern for the new movie. It's just more dulled and muted to match more realistic lighting. Because if you had those like bright colors that you had in the cartoon in this one, it's not going to work,
Yeah. You would have to like kind of cartoonify the rest of everything else to do that. Something that I did notice about the animation in the newer movie that I applaud is, I don't know if you looked at, especially the lines. This is where I paid attention to it the most. Is the mannerisms and the way that the ears would twitch and the tails would move. It was very like natural. It looks very natural to a cat, to a lion. Right. The animations that they got down packed for all these animals, I think that they did great. Like, it looked like, they did their research, they paid attention to these animals, and then they recreated it in the movie. Yeah, it's clear that they chose actual, like, they used some animal models, like real life animal models for certain stuff. I noticed, and I was going to mention their mannerisms actually. The first thing that comes to mind when we're talking about mannerisms is actually Pumbaa. I thought it was really interesting. One of the first scenes we meet of him, he gets down on like his feet buckle, and he kind of like rests. Almost, it's a weird hunch that only like bovine creatures can make. I'm probably wrong in saying that, but it's a mannerism that like pigs, swine would be able to do, or in his case, a hog. And it's a really interesting way. And he kind of like walks around on his. It's like the elbow of his arm, and it looks natural. It's an interesting little just thing. They could have had him on his feet the entire time, but they chose to put him in ways that we wouldn't naturally think of pigs behaving, and it worked. It really added to the whole thing. Going back to the sceneries that the new movie put us in, I do like a lot of the like more naturalistic worlds that they introduced us to, but there were scenes that I feel they made mistakes on. Not in the like terms of if like this geography could exist or not. That's not a problem for me. But just stylistic choices, like the scene where Pumbaa and Timon find Simba as a cub in the desert. They spend a lot of time talking to him in the desert, and the scene is really dull. It's gray. It's literally gray, and it's a frustrating scene, not because it's not a good scene, but it could be a much better scene if they just pivoted the camera the other way. Because right behind them is this lush jungle. Like, it's literally right behind them while they're talking. And you don't know that it's right there until the scene ends and you see them like pick Simba up onto his feet and like they begin to walk back into the jungle. But it's frustrating because like they could have had this conversation, or at least part of the conversation. They could have like walked into the jungle and started talking about Hakuna Matata. They didn't have to like spend all that time in the desert talking about Hakuna Matata. It's just a weird stylistic choice. Like it's like they forgot that it's a movie and it's supposed to look nice, So that was frustrating, and that's actually something that Jen pointed out to me, and I can't like unsee it now. Dang it, Jen. Dang it, Jen. Well, speaking about the Hakuna Matata scene, I also liked that it wasn't just Timon and Pumbaa, like, searching for grubs. There's this little like hideout for wayward animals in the jungle who just want to eat bugs. It's hilarious. I like that too. I think it made sense. It was actually a lot more natural for there to be more animals, not just like the three of them walking around. I think that was one of the better songs in the newer movie. I think that they did pretty good with that one. I'll tell you the song that was much better in this movie than in the original movie. In the Jungle, the song that Timon and Pumbaa sang, "In the jungle, the mighty jungle." In the original movie, they only sing like one verse of it. Or they just sing like one iteration of the chorus of it. In this movie, they sing a lot of the song, like a significantly larger portion. So it's like the creators realized that what they can do is take this really cute scene of them singing a classic song and develop that into a bigger scene. And I like that a lot. That was, for me, a highlight of the movie. Yeah. I know one of the songs that wasn't as strong in the newer movie was the Can't Wait to Be King.
We'll be back after a quick break.
I hate talking.
Do you love talking about any topic and are never frustrated during conversations? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if there are topics that you avoid, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know the definition of every word others use? I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you are curious about the definition and historical usage of words, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know about current events and other random topics? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you enjoy conversations on a variety of topics, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Listen to I Hate Talking wherever you get your podcasts.
Episodes drop every Thursday. Listen, like, and follow I Hate Talking today.
What did you dislike about it?
Oh, well, the vocals. I wasn't a big fan of the vocals. And that scene, like, I remember, and in this, I would understand it being harder to recreate, and, like, going with their own thing would, is fine for this one. Because, dude, you remember the end of that song, like, how insane it was? Like, all the animals got, like, stacked up on each other. I know that for this one, it would have been hard, but I felt like it was underwhelming. But the most underwhelming song, hands down, is Be Prepared. In the new movie, that was like the worst song that they like carried over from the original. Like did they carry over
the whole song? Like, I forget. I feel like they took bits and pieces of the Be Prepared song, and then they put it, like, they mixed it in with Scar's speech that he gave in the movie.
Right. So it was like part monologue, part song.
Yeah, it was.
And so, like, in the animated version, I mean, he has, like, this monologue, but then he goes into this song. And, yeah, it's, like, an actual, like, whole song. But, dude, that's, like, one of my favorite songs in the original. It's just so good. It's so, like, really strong. Like, it shows how sinister Scar is. Like, Scar is much more of a villain in the original than he is in this one. Like, I wasn't really scared of Scar in the newer movie, because, like, Scar, I mean, he realizes that he's not physically intimidating, but he knows he's cunning, and it shows a lot more in the animated version.
Okay, yeah, I totally agree. The original Be Prepared also has, like, very striking visuals when it comes to the hyenas that are backing him, and they start like marching like they're like they're Nazi soldiers,
dude. I was thinking the same exact thing. I was like, when you think back on it, it's like, oh, that's an interesting choice.
And I understand why they didn't do that. I mean, it's okay to villainize the villains. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem, like, visualizing a tyrannical leader having an army of lackeys doing, very Nazi-ish things. You have that in Star Wars, and that's fine, because you're villainizing the villains.
Stormtroopers were literally, that name was literally taken from World War II. So
yeah, it's true. Good work there, Lucas. You fooled us. But yeah, with this one, they didn't go that route. Most of the animals in the entire movie behaved like animals. They didn't behave out of their norm. Except, I think, like, Timon. I think Timon was kind of they were very lax with the way that they gave Timon his mannerisms. I don't know. Like, the way...
he still did... So they still did pretty good with Timon. With the way that... I don't know if you've ever seen meerkats, the way that, like, when they stand up, they actually had him stand up like that. There were a couple of moments where, like, he was, like, kind of laying back and, like, scratching his stomach. I mean, they might do that, like...
That's true. Yeah, we're not
meerkat
zoologists.
Exactly.
We're not. We don't know these kind of things to the degree that we, probably should, discussing animal mannerisms. But yeah, so they didn't do the Nazi march with the hyenas in Be Prepared. And at first I was like, oh man, the song's just about to start getting good, and then the song ends, and I'm just like, wait, what?
I know. Oh my god.
I don't know if you had the same feeling.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just so underwhelming. And it's okay.
Almost like a slow build up to nothing.
Yes! Oh my gosh. They like built up the song to like just drop it off an edge. I mean, it's okay. They didn't have to go with, that whole route. It didn't have to be that whole cartoonish route. But if you're going to go for songs, and like every other song had the full song except for that song. And that's one of the stronger songs in the original. And so Mufasa, the death scene, I felt like it was more impactful in the original. Like you felt it more in the original. And I'll
tell you why.
There's more emotion.
Yeah, there is. I think the voice actor who plays Simba is better in the original. I don't know who they got to voice the new movie, but I think the voice actor pulled it off better in the original. I also think the fact that you can't see like the facial expressions that they were capable of doing in the animation, which they, added more human emotions to their facial structure in the original. You can't really get away with that with, lifelike animals. So, because that would have looked really weird and probably would have weirded people out more than anything. But it was still an emotional scene. But I'll tell you what the scene is that always gets me, that they kind of like failed on with the Mufasa death. It's two things. There's one where Simba realizes that he needs help. He needs to like wake his dad up. And he starts looking around. In the classic movie, they have him look around for like 5 minutes, totally lost. And that's a very reasonable thing for a young child to feel for, a lost loved one. And then he starts like, help, anybody. And that's music. The music too. The music was strong, but the mere fact that he looked about for like 5 seconds, totally lost, unaware of what to do. Like, what is his job here supposed to be? How do you help his father if there's no one there to help him? They did not get that across in the new movie. And also, they didn't have Simba lift up his dad's paw to like go underneath him. The fact that he didn't like actually go underneath his dad's paw, which was just like a very touching moment in the original, is also a little bit underwhelming. But overall, I mean, it's a terrible tragedy. And there was emotion in it, but it was just a tiny bit less than the original. I don't know.
The original, that moment was one of the key moments of that film. And those key moments are, you have to deliver on them if you're going to do a remake. And while I think that they made a noble attempt, I do think that they fell short just a bit on that moment.
Yeah. Well, speaking about Scar and his plan to take over Pride Rock, one thing that I can give this movie credit for, and I will, is the fact that they really fleshed out his plot. They gave him extra scenes that aren't in the original movie, of him like actually like sowing dissent in Pride Rock. They had him explaining his plan of like becoming king, and it just made his character feel more realized, and I do appreciate that. I also like the voice actor that they chose for Scar. I think they had a great voice actor. Again, it's just the Be Prepared song that's a big disappointment.
Yeah, like I feel like he could have probably pulled off that song if they tried.
I just don't think they did. Yeah,
it was nice having James Earl Jones back for Mufasa,
and he didn't sound like all that much older. Like, it's weird, like when you go in newer versions of his portrayal of Darth Vader, he doesn't sound the same to me. There's like his voice isn't as crisp as it was in the original series when, like he does new versions of the character, like in Rogue One or whatever, or like he has some appearances in Rebels. It sounds weird to me. It sounds off. But for whatever reason, his voice in The Lion King sounded exactly like it did in the original Lion King. So it was cool having him back for both of those. Yeah.
It's crazy that he did that role and then 24 years later?
25.
25. Oh yeah, 25 years later. He comes back and he has that same booming Mufasa voice.
That same gravitas, yeah. I loved. Oh, that's another scene that I didn't really appreciate as much as in the original, and it would have been hard to realize. But the Mufasa scene in the stars, when he's like talking to Simba, and Simba's trying to figure out who he is and like what he should do, and Mufasa's like, remember. That was a terrible James Earl Jones impression. I apologize, but it's a great scene in the original. You know, the fact that like the lion comes out of the clouds and it's like a silhouette and it's all the swirling purples and stuff. It's so cool. And then in this one, it's just kind of like a thunder in the clouds. You know?
Yeah. What was it like? We talked about it in Black Panther, like that scene where he goes into like the astral world.
Oh, the astral plane, yeah.
Yeah, the astral plane is like very reminiscent of that moment in Lion King.
And it's pretty crazy how well they were able to do it in Black Panther, but I don't feel like they were capable of matching the moment in the actual Lion King remake, which was a disappointment. It was still again, all these scenes are still good scenes. It's just falling short of our expectations, and that's where the movie fails, in my opinion. That's where like these Disney remakes, they need some variation. You know, they need to have scenes that are not cut, copied, and pasted one script to another. You know, I saw a joke, or I saw one of my buddies on YouTube posted like a video of him as like a script writer writing the next Disney live action remake, and he gets an email and it's like, how's that script coming? And then he goes on Google, he's just like, this whatever film script, he copies everything, he pastes it, and then he sends it over. He sends the new script, and he just changes the name of the script writer as to him. And it's like, it's true, like this is the same exact movie. Like they changed 10 lines, 11 lines, they added maybe 2 scenes. It's a weird thing, but in some cases it's fine. You know, sometimes the jokes land, but I feel like most of the times the jokes didn't. At least the ones that were repeats.
I do. So like going towards the end, there's in the newer movie, so that distraction moment that Timon and Pumbaa have in the newer movie, I actually enjoyed that one a lot.
I forget what they did.
They start singing "Be Our Guest."
Yes, dude. Me and Jen were dying laughing. That was actually a stroke of genius.
That was fantastic.
Was so good.
Yeah. I absolutely loved that part. Because I was like, oh, okay, they're pulling from another movie, and it worked. It worked so well. It was funny. It was in that moment where you saw that Disney charm. Yeah,
it's fun when the mouse can joke at itself at its own at its own expense. You know, like the Muppet movie I just watched. There's a line where I think it's Gonzo, or it's one of the Muppets basically saying like, what's next? A singing and dancing mouse getting his own amusement park?
Dude, I love when they do stuff like that. Yeah. They had a moment like that. They were wondering what the stars were, right? And Timon's like, oh, they're just fireflies that got stuck in that blue and black thing. And then Pumbaa's like, oh, I thought they were just giant balls of gas.
Which is one of the best jokes in the original, dude, first of all. That's one of the best jokes in the original. It's still
it's still like how we're talking about how some of the jokes didn't land so well. This one did land pretty well.
Yeah. I feel like some of the scenes... Actually, I feel like a lot of the scenes that were kind of crucial moments in the original movie didn't feel earned in the new movie. The scene I'm most thinking about is the one where Nala comes and sees Simba for the first time. For whatever reason, I feel like the original... I'm probably never going to do this, but I want to see the original scene layered over the new scene, because I feel like there's some lines missing, or there's some subtext that's just forgotten because they chose to use their screen time watching, or having us watch a dung beetle push poop over a cliff. That scene pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie to you. That scene was useless. In the original, it's like a magical moment of like just dust that
Elton John.
Well, yeah. There's a scene like Simba like kind of like kicks up some dust, and it just kind of floats over to Rafiki's what is it, a banyan tree?
Yeah.
And he has this little moment of like deliberation. He grabs the dust, he mixes it in a bowl with some gooey fruit or whatever, and he's doing his little shaman thing, and he's like, "Ha, Simba's alive!" And in this movie they had that, but it wasn't. They spent way more time focusing on how the fur got. Dude, it was like a minute and a half of like watching Simba's fur get from one place to another. It was inside a giraffe, inside a piece of poop, floating on a river. Ants were carrying it, and there was other things too. It wasn't just that. Those are the things that popped to my head. And then Rafiki's just like, "Ha, Simba!" It was just a very quick like, oh, he figured it out very very quickly, and I had to watch a dung beetle push poop around.
Rafiki, original better.
Original was better. I did like the actual African. I think they used the language Zosu. That's what the subtitles said in on Disney Plus. So I kind of like that they kind of mixed in some, I guess, more culturally appropriate or geographically appropriate language.
Yeah.
In the mix. So I kind of like that. But I do think that the original actor was a little more animated and just more fun.
Yeah, he was. The thing I liked about the original was that Rafiki was like kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of crazy, but like you like him at the same time because he's crazy, but he comes in when you need him most.
Yeah.
The meeting of Simba and Nala in the newer one, not as strong as the original.
I just want to jump in here because I feel like I keep thinking about saying this, but it's like not the right time in the conversation. I feel like I'm gonna forget it. I did not like Donald Glover as Simba. There were lines that he just didn't deliver well. In the original, when Scar attacks his mother, the voice actor had some gravitas, he's just like, "Get away from my mother!" In this movie, Donald Glover's just like, "Get away from my mother!" And it's just like, okay, your mother's being attacked. Try again, Donald. Just a little more. Like, I don't understand the voice acting, or the whoever was directing the voices, because it just didn't fit a lot of the scenes. And a lot of the scenes, again, needed more power. Like, talking about, I Just Can't Wait to Be King. The kids had good voices. Whoever was singing the song, with whoever the kids were that sung the song, but they didn't have emotion. I don't know. I just feel like there was some emotion lacking in certain scenes, and with everything that I saw with Donald Glover, I didn't feel any emotion. Yeah,
there needed to be a bit more emotion behind a lot of the acting. I mean, they really they could have made decisions. I mean, I know Phil Lamar was a character somewhere in that movie. He's like one of the best like voice actors that you could ever think of. And he's like a background character.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand the draw of having big actors and stuff.
Right.
Popular individuals, Seth Rogen, Beyonce, Donald Glover, John Oliver. You have these big name actors that draw people to the movie. I understand the pull to that. I think that benefited the movie's success, but I don't think it benefited the movie, if that makes sense.
So with that being said, like, So the movie itself already had success in the animated film. So
Right.
no matter who they picked, people were going to go see that movie. They were like,
Yeah, that's fair.
it's a
That's fair.
it's a beloved film. They did not have to go for the biggest names out there. People would, I mean, they could have gotten some unknown people.
You have some loud neighbors, dude.
It's yeah,
Holy
the
cow.
street.
I heard it on my end.
So yeah, they could have gotten, actual like voice actors and actresses and put them in this film. It's okay if nobody knew who they were, because I mean, Lion King, people know the Lion King. It's a beloved film. I don't know. I just
It
think
is
that
there is something to
better,
it though.
They could have made a better decision in casting.
Yeah, Jen's not a fan of Beyonce. I don't know why. I've even we've listened to Beyonce songs that she's like, oh wow, this is really good and stuff, and she knows it's Beyonce, but for whatever reason, the idea of Beyonce she doesn't like. She's like, all right, I like her as Nala, but just wait, she's gonna ruin it by doing her Beyonce, like her typical singing style, which is like very breathy and airy and fluctuating and stuff. That isn't actual words; it's just kind of singing in harmony. She doesn't like that kind of music. And sure enough, they had a song. What was it that they added to the movie? Spirits, where I think it's called Spirits. But anyway, it's like them, Simba and Nala, finally going back to the Pride, and it's a scene. It's like a minute and a half of a Beyonce single that just didn't exist in the original, and she was right. Beyonce did go ahead and do her typical singing style, which I don't mind, but it didn't fit the movie, And it's another thing. Like there's certain stuff that just don't work. It's weird. Sometimes the new Disney live action stuff really works. Like the new music that they choose for the Disney live action stuff.
Beauty and
the
the
movie
Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, dude. They had
example.
3 new songs? Days in the Sun, Evermore. I forget if there was another. I feel like there was, but those songs, dude, they add so much to the movie. Oh, Paris of My Childhood, that's another one. Fantastic songs made by Alan Menken. He did, dude, the guy's a legend. But with stuff like Aladdin, they had a new song, that Jasmine song. I forget the name of it, but it totally took me out of the moment. It was just like it didn't make any sense for the movie. But for me, and that's exactly what happened in Lion King 2019 for whatever reason.
Oh, you're talking about this? Oh, okay. I know you're talking about that. The I don't know if it was the song or the scene itself that took you out of the moment. It was weird. It was almost like a music video, and I was like, in the middle of the film,
because it's in her head. The whole thing is in her head, and it's like
I don't need this.
You have actual magical moments, like I can show you the world, and they're going on a magic carpet ride, where they're singing these great songs. You couldn't come up with another scene that actually kind of showed just another magical side of this reality that you've created, but instead it's just like, I forget what the song is even about. I remember it didn't work for me, and there was just like fictional people around her that she was beating up or like disappearing or whatever. I can't. Sorry, I'm babbling at this point.
And in the background, it was really Thanos.
It was Thanos, wasn't it? Yeah, he's just because
they
were disintegrating.
Yeah, they were disintegrating. that was in a world where it was a post Thanos snap. They were disappearing.
But anyway, yeah.
That movie
so I didn't
wasn't
like
too bad though. I mean, I had my gripes, but
I actually liked Aladdin,
yeah.
the new one. 2019?
I did too.
I think it's 2019. I liked Aladdin. I also liked The Lion King. Not as much as Aladdin. Definitely not as much as Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, like everything, I have my gripes. I have certain scenes really worked in live action. I really liked the final battle with Simba, the hyenas, Scar, and the female lions. Dude, that was awesome. They nailed that. And again,
Yeah.
like with the the Pumbaa and Timon stuff, where he's just kind of like flipping people over with his tusks. That was great. I loved all that kind of stuff.
And then Rafiki came in with his stick. He didn't. So it was definitely a lot more natural in that moment, because I remember when Rafiki came in, he was doing kung fu in the animated film, and then in the newer film, he was swinging around the stick in a way that a baboon could. Like, it looked natural.
Right. Yeah, it looked like it came out of Planet of the Apes, the new one. Yeah, I think we covered it. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk? Is there anything you want to else? We're right on the hour mark, so.
Yeah. They did pretty well with the final showdown between Simba and Scar. He goes down the same way he does in the animated film. His army turns on him because, they kind of find out that he's been using them the whole time. Yeah. So the final act of the film, when you get towards that end, they actually did pretty well in the newer film.
I gotta give the animators, the actual CGI animators, credit where it's due, because they pulled off something unimaginably difficult. I can't even imagine the amount of hours that were spent creating these characters, creating the world around them to look so believable, because it was all CGI. There may have been a couple things that were just like filmed and then plopped into the background or stuff, but for the most part, everything, all the characters were 100% CGI, and that is crazy because it looked live action,
Yeah,
and I think they were even were talking about it as if it was a live action Lion King. But
that's what they were like. Yeah, they were calling it like quote unquote live action, but at the end of the day, it's really a CG. It's really CG, yeah. But I mean the character models, they did great. The mannerisms, they did pretty great also. So I'll say that, they wanted to go with something more realistic, and I think that they nailed it in that kind of sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think what they were able to accomplish with the computer graphics is way ahead of anything else I've ever seen that's just been a fully CGI movie trying to look live action.
That's what George Lucas wanted. This is the kind of technology he wanted, but
George Lucas wants to live in the Mandalorian soundstage, which is just the big circular room with projectors all around him. That's his dream.
That is so good. Could you imagine if he did the prequels in that? Oh my gosh, that would have been
no more long hallway walks in the temple.
That look like ripped straight out of a video game scene.
Yeah, I mean, I love the prequels. What am I saying?
Oh yeah, come on, same. But yeah,
we're recording this. Sorry, yeah, we're recording this a couple days before you guys get our Phantom Menace podcast. So hopefully you'll listen to that before listening to this. But yeah, we do love the prequels. We have a lot of fondness for them.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I think we've covered the movie, at least the main parts of it. If there's anything that we missed, we apologize, but we tried to get at least the key points.
I think both of us have pros and cons for the movie. We both had stuff that we were like, wow, it really worked in this moment, or what really shined was this or that. But we also had stuff that were like, no. Either take that out of the movie or make it better.
Yeah.
And that's... I think this is actually one of those healthy balances where it's a great movie, but it's not the original. And I think that's where the disappointment lies, And I would recommend everyone giving this movie a shot.
Yeah.
If only just to, experience a classic Shakespearean tale told in lion form all over again. Because this is based off of Hamlet. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah. Well, there's even that Hamlet moment in the animated version There's like a
yeah. Scar holds like a
the skull.
Skull.
Yeah. I do think that it's worth checking out. I will say that the newer movie is worth checking out. I mean, if you haven't seen the animated version, you need to go check that out too. And that's a classic.
Forget to talk about the 2019 version. Watch the original.
Yeah.
It's that's so good.
It is so good. The music's great. It's amazing. But yeah, we don't want to completely like throw down the hammer on the newer movie. It's just it has its flaws, and it would be a disservice of us to not point out what we didn't enjoy. And if we only said what we liked, then it wouldn't be right. But yeah, I agree with Dakota. It is worth checking out at least.
The last time we did one of these comparison videos, it was Mulan 98 and 2020. And Mulan 2020 is just not for me. I don't really care for that movie that much. There are certain things that I like about it, but comparing Mulan 2020 and Lion King 2019, Lion King 2019 way better. It's just a better movie, in my opinion.
Well, it's more of a remake of the original, whereas Mulan 2020 was trying to be like a reimagining. You know, like they were trying to reimagine it.
It's tough. It's tough because I do admire what Mulan was trying to do more than what I admire Lion King for trying to basically remake the original. Just because it was, I think that they did do a really good job of making Mulan 2020 feel like its own thing. I just didn't like the thing that they made, if that makes any sense.
I think that it just would have been good if it was not a Mulan movie. I think it would have been. Yeah. I mean, the action was great, but yeah. If you want to hear more about that, we have like a whole episode on that. And if you haven't listened to it yet. So, with that being said, I think we're done. Do you have any last remarks on Lion King 94 and 2019?
No, but I'm excited for you guys to hear our next episode, which is Man of Steel. So in our recent poll, we had a bunch of the same topics as last week, but we included Man of Steel, and you guys overwhelmingly chose Man of Steel. For our next topic, it's definitely going to be Man of Steel, and then we're going to take a break from the poll structure for at least a week, so that we can do something that we don't think will win a poll anytime soon. And I hope you guys think that that's fair.
Alright guys, thank you so much for listening to us here at Project Geekology for our 20th episode. Next Monday, we'll be diving into our discussion of Man of Steel, the 2013 DCEU film, for episode 21. The choice to cover Man of Steel next actually came from all of you who voted in our poll, so thanks for that. And for episode 21, on the following Monday, we will be covering Princess Bride. This time we decided to not go with a poll so that we could give other options an opportunity to be covered. If you'd like to make your voice heard in the future, go to Twitter right now to see if we have a poll running. And if not, follow us for future updates and polls. You can also find any polls that we may have posted on Twitter, also on Dakota's Geekritique YouTube channel. Be sure to find all our links to our show and socials in the show notes so that you can keep up to date on all Project Geekology news and updates. If you enjoyed today's show, share it on social media. Review it on your preferred podcast application, or talk to us directly online. Alright everybody, have a safe week, and can't wait for you to listen to our next episode.
Alright guys, have a good one.